Manchester City are one player away from a near perfect transfer window, and that one player is, of course, Richard Edgill. Everyone just went, who? Who the bloody hell is Richard Edgill? I imagine 95% there or thereabouts of people watching this video have no idea who Richard Edgill is. But what a incredibly average right-back he was for Manchester City. Go and educate yourselves on him. Realistically, though, there are other names that Manchester City are being linked with. Tino Livramento. I said realistically. I think it's actually going to be an incredibly difficult deal to get done. But I think there is a world where it happens. I think it's a possibility. Reports are that he's had his head turned by Manchester City, and Manchester City are over here, and he's just gone, what? Sorry, what? Manchester City? Yeah, I'm interested. Reports are also suggesting that he's considering an £80 million bid. Well, Newcastle, rather, are accepting £80 million, considering, which is a large amount of money, understandable amount of money, because he ticks the homegrown box. He is also very much a key component to Newcastle. Last season, he was in particular. And I also think they've got Champions League football to offer. I think he's got a large contract as well. I also think the club itself, Newcastle, is growing and growing. They would say, well, why would we want to sell to Manchester City? We are trying to be you, effectively. We are trying to usurp you as the juggernaut that you are in this division. We are trying to become one of the big players and eat at the same table that Manchester City eat at right now. So why would they sell some of their key players to us? It's going to be difficult. Maybe we could get it done though, but there are alternative names out there that I'll get onto now. Nicolo Savona is the first of 5 names that I'm going to be talking about now that Manchester City have been linked with. 22 years old, Italian, right back who can play centre back. He's got a £10 million price tag reportedly. For me, not quite ready for Manchester City in all honesty. I don't think he's good enough. A potential squad player, but I do think Matheus Nunes is ticking that box as well. I think we've got Matheus Nunes as a squad player. Now, a name that we were linked with in January, Andrea Cambiasso. I'm not convinced that Manchester City is still interested because this has just died. This news just completely gone. It was sizzling hot in January. We're very much linked with this player, probably as a left-back. Seeing as we've got Ryan Aït-Nouri, it makes me think that Manchester City were planning to utilise Andrea Cambiasso as a left-back rather than a right-back. And seeing as we've signed Ryan Aït-Nouri, and it coincides with the fact that the Cambiasso news or the reports have just died, I think we weren't ever planning on playing him as right-back. But you've seen Pep do this before. We got Cancelo in as a right back and he ended up playing left back for Manchester City. We could have a reverse situation of Andrea Cambiasso, but he does not tick that homegrown box, which we very much need. He's also picked up quite a few injuries since January, and he's got a reported price tag of £50 million, which also may be a reason why Manchester City have cooled their interest. Paying £50 million for a non-homegrown player might be why. The other players Manchester City have been linked with, dipping our toes in the South American market, Wesley. Wesley, 21 years old, £37 million price tag is the reported fee. A big old contract. Maybe that's why the price tag is so high. Also, the player's quality is probably why the price tag is so high. But £37 million price tag, that is a big old lump of money for a player that's unproven. It's a big risk considering the price tag that he's associated with. He's a very promising player. There is no denying that. I actually think he's quite similar in some regards to Tino Livramento. And I've got some stats to show you to compare all of these players against one another and see how they fare. And you'll see why Wesley and Livramento are very similar. They're always next to each other in these particular departments of stats that I'm about to showcase you right now. But alternatively, Daniel Munoz linked with Manchester City. He terrorised us in the FA Cup final. He's got a reported fee of €35 million for the big Colombian. Well, he's not that big. He's actually, for the average-sized Colombian, I should have said. Averagely sized Colombian. But he's not average in age. He's actually well above the average age of what Manchester City are targeting, with him being 29 years old. It's not old. Some people seem to think 29 years old is old, but what the pattern of Manchester City's transfer business, we don't really go for 29-year-olds. Certainly not spending over the odds, and one that isn't ticking the homegrown box as well. I'm not sure this one makes sense, in all honesty. I think he's a good player, I just don't think it makes sense. And he doesn't really have that defensive mindset, which I do think Wesley and Livramento both have. Finally, Livramento, the number one choice. And I think City's number one choice, I think City fans' number one choice, my personal number one choice is Livramento, 22 years old, homegrown, ticking that box, the perfect Kyle Walker replacement. Not quite up to the standards of his speed, but certainly a defensive, English, homegrown player that we need. We have to have this player. We have to have a player that ticks the homegrown box. You can't just keep throwing names out there unless they're homegrown, because we have to sign a homegrown player somewhere. Can he play at left back? Yes, he can. He can absolutely do that job. So he's got a bit of versatility. Some reports are suggesting that this is going to get upwards of 80 million, which is a large amount of money. I actually think he could play right centre back. I do think that. Not as a 2, more of a 3. If we send Ryan Aït-Nouri forward, let him go forward, join the attack, and let the defence shuffle across and become a 3 at centre-back. So when we go into defensive mode, we bring Ryan Aït-Nouri back, Livramento tucks out wide and protects the right side of a 4. He becomes the right side of a 3 when we send Ryan Aït-Nouri forward. I have no problems with that, and I think he's got the defensive attributes to do it. So let's compare him statistically. First of all, this is what he's not going to bring to Manchester City. He is not going to be that marauding fullback that everyone thinks he is, in terms of Ryan Aït-Nouri style football. That a brilliant technical player that's going to be getting up and down that wing, whipping balls into the box, getting assists, getting goals. That ain't Livramento. Goals and assists on this list is bottom. In terms of progressive carries into the final third, Livramento second from bottom. In terms of crosses into the penalty area, per 90 over the last season, this is, by the way, compared to the other 4 players on this list, he is bottom of that list as well. Goal creating actions per 90 minutes, also bottom of the list. Not surprising, but he does offer attack-minded attributes. Not quite, goals and assists, not that area, but he's a ball-playing defender. He'll break the lines. If you're going to press him, he's got a vision. He's a visionary. He will pass through the lines and find a pass and get us into attacking positions, get us into the middle third, and get us into the final third with a pass as well. He can carry the ball out of defence. And I think that's where his attributes and why Manchester City are focusing on him, because he's got an ability to retain the ball, hold the ball and bring it out of defence, but not going up and down the right wing like a marauding Ryan Aït-Nouri style fullback. That's not his game. His progressive carries, albeit the area of the pitch is where this is most important, because I don't think, as I've already shown you, it's not going to be in the final third. It's more coming out of defence. But progressive carries, he is second on this list. And you only need to carry the ball more than 10 yards for it to be considered a progressive carry, which indicates that he does still carry the ball, just different areas of the pitch. Progressive passes, on the other hand, top of the list by a decent amount as well. And that's ahead of Andrea Cambiasso. Really good. Visionary, as I've said. Now, passes into the final third. That's not carries into the final third. That is passes into the final third. Again, he's a visionary. But look who's right above him. Wesley. Keep an eye on Wesley throughout this, and it's an indication as to why Manchester City are targeting these 2 players, because there is a clear profile between the 2. Defensively, how do they compare? His tackle percentages, he's middle of the road compared to the other 4 players. But blocks, he starts to creep up the list a little bit, and clearances, blocks, aerial duels, doesn't that scream centre-back to you? Does to me. Blocks, clearances, and aerial duels. Let's have a look. So blocks, he's second. Who's ahead of him? Wesley is just ahead of him. Again, 2 right-backs that have centre-back sort of attributes that I think Manchester City have purposefully singled out these players for a reason, for their profile. Clearances, Livramento, top of the list. Brilliant from Tino Livramento. And for me, that's an indication of positional awareness. Are you in the right place? Same as a centre-forward. Are you in the right place to put it in the back of the net when you're a fox in the box? Defenders, are you in the right place when the ball drops to clear the thing? It's a defensive awareness. It's positional awareness from Tino Livramento. Ball recoveries, top of the list. Who's behind him? Wesley. There's a clear indication that these players are close to one another, and why Manchester City would probably be going for Wesley if we do not get Tino Livramento, because there is a clear pattern between the 2. In terms of aerial duels, he is second on the list with 43% of his aerial duels won. Only second behind, you guessed it, Wesley, who leaps like a fish out of water with a ridiculous 62.7% of his aerial duels are won. I mean, is everyone a bloody tiny... You can't say midget anymore. Well, I've said it now. Too late. I've said it now. But you're not allowed to say that. But I was thinking there's a lot of small people in Brazil, potentially, is what I was thinking. Maybe he's just a freak who's really, really big. But anyway, Livramento, he's a big guy. And he wins his aerial duels, and that is Premier League aerial duels. Don't forget that he's winning there. Very, very impressive. But it all screams defensive-minded defender. Not a marauding defender that's going to go up and down that right wing and start crosses crossing into the box. Not that style of player. I think we are getting a solid defender. And how much have we been crying that out for that type of player? In particular, since the FIFA Club World Cup, we've showcased we've still got gaps. When we go forward, we leave a big old hole down either side of our defence. And Tino Livramento can plug that hole potentially. An exciting player. Who would you prefer out of all of the players I've mentioned in this list? Are there any names that I've not mentioned that you think Manchester City should be targeting? Don't forget, homegrown quota box needs to be I've been doing that the whole video. But yeah, it needs to be ticked, that box. That homegrown box, it absolutely is essential. And Tino Livramento is one of the few on this list he's the only one on this list that does it. So realistically, we kind of have to go for him. And we have to go for him hard and spend a lot of money to get him. Blues, let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.